It's funny because I feel my hearing is starting to go. So every time I can't get something like that, I think it's my hearing right away. But anyways, we'll get the meeting started. So welcome
Okay.
everyone. I've noticed we have myself, obviously, Lorraine,
Mhm.
Karen, Estelle, Gloria. We have visitors today and welcome Cindy Conquest from
Hey.
Mass Equestrian Center. And we
Mhm.
also have Carlton Hunt joining us, representing the Community Preservation Committee. So thank you and welcome.
Thank
We're
you.
going to change up the meeting schedule just a little bit today to allow our guests to speak more towards the beginning of the meeting. And what we'll do today is introduce in a moment Cindy Conquest from the Equestrian Center. And then after she's complete, Carlton Hunt is here today representing the CPC, and he's going to talk about and answer questions that we might have on Marathon Park. So before I get started, does anyone have any questions or anything they'd like to bring up? Well, great. Well, again, welcome everyone. It's always nice to
There
have
you are.
visitors, and we look forward to it. So we will start introducing Cindy Conquest, who is the director of the Mass Equestrian Center. She's going to give us about a 30-minute presentation today. The Equestrian Center, to the best of my knowledge, offers inclusive adaptive riding lessons for children and adults with disabilities, fostering cognitive, emotional, physical, and social development through equine assisted services. We really appreciate you being with us today, Cindy, and the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with all of you, and thank you, Lorraine and David, for helping set this up.
Welcome.
I
Sure.
I do have a lovely little set of photos to share with you. I do believe I need access to share my screen, Josh. It looks like that might be something you can grant us, if that's okay. To share that.
You should be all set.
Okay, excellent. Let me I might have to log out and log back. Oh, no, there we go. It's coming right up. Okay. Let me see if I can pull this up for you guys. Give me one moment. So you should be seeing my screen. And then we're going to pull up the correct presentation momentarily. Question is, where is it? Here it is. Nope, not that one. That's a blank screen. Let me pause that. Let's open it up right here. And then we'll get started. So quick show of hands. How many of you are familiar with the Bridge Center, the current location off of Pine Street in Bridgewater?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. How many of you have been there already?
Oh, not lately.
Yay, nay? Okay.
No.
Let's try this way. Okay. You should see this now opening back up. I chose a nice wintry front photo because that's the vibe I'm trying to channel on this sweaty day.
Yeah.
All right, just taking a brief moment here, and then we'll bring it right in. Here we go. All right. You guys should be able to see it slowly starting to load for you. Yes?
There it is. Yes.
Excellent. Okay, wonderful. So my name is Cindy Conquest. I am the Equestrian Center Director at Easter Seals, Massachusetts at the Bridge Center. And I'm thrilled to share, I'll talk to you for about 25 minutes or so and give some time for questions at the end as well. And hopefully my goal today is to let you know the resources that are available to the greater Bridgewater community for both individuals with and without disabilities. But our main mission is to provide equal opportunities for children and adults with disabilities across the lifespan to live, learn, work, and play. And we do all of that in an outdoor pastoral setting at the 20 acres of the Bridge Center. So quick overview is that we are new stewards to this campus. It has been around in Bridgewater since the 1960s under a number of different names. The mission for the previous nonprofits has always been quite similar to ours in that the goal is to provide, again, equitable services and opportunities for children and adults to engage and recreate and learn alongside their peers and the community members in a safe, supportive, and enriching way. We acquired this campus in August 2022. It was in tough shape, to say the least, and we've worked diligently since then, and we're still working day in and day out to bring the campus back to not only what it once was, but hopefully even bigger and better than ever. We opened the Equestrian Center, which is the area of the campus that I direct, in April 2023. So we took from August to April to get things going, to make some major repairs necessary on the roof, on other infrastructure and other capital improvements on campus. And we were thrilled to open our doors again spring in 2023. So we've just been open about 2 years now, officially to the public. Right now we offer summer camp. We're in our 2nd week of summer camp. We do also match the extended school year options for a various number of communities so that parents and caregivers have a chance to keep their kids engaged all year long outside of the 3 or 4 day a week or half day ESY programs, as well as, some of those off weeks if they're still looking for ways for children and young adults to stay engaged. And then we offer recreational classes throughout the weekdays and weekends, as well as a variety of seasonal public events. And then, of course, our therapeutic services, which I'll talk about in detail, as well as equine assisted services. So you're looking at a picture of our Radofsky Center, which is our main building that does not house the animals. Lots of glass would not be great for horses, but it is very picturesque, and we invite you out to check it out this fall, if not sooner. So a little bit of background on me and my unique role. It's not just horses, but I have had the pleasure of working with horses and in equine assisted services in a number of different locations. Some of them are listed below. I am a Mansfield, Massachusetts native, so I'm back in the area. I'm happy to be back, but I've also worked abroad for a number of different years. And I enjoy bringing my unique background in both neurobiology as well as special ed and secondary education into the management of this program. So a little bit about our programming. We serve currently 80 participants a week across the lifespan. We start at age 2 for participation in equine assisted services. And our oldest participant is currently 74. There is no upward limit. We say, 2 to 102 is our general estimate of services, but we like to think that there's something for everybody at the Bridge Center campus. We do provide services for individuals with both individual as well as multiple diagnoses, including physical and social emotional needs, as well as those with developmental delays. And then a wide majority of our participants in the barn are individuals who have autism diagnoses, as well as a number of others. Our programming is quite inclusive in nature. So we have both participants as well as their friends and family members who are interested in traditional recreational programming that a town rec center might provide, but they want to do it alongside their peers. So it's nice that we have peer models as well as peers that benefit from extra accommodations and support on campus. And then who are we connected with on campus and in the community? So we receive referrals from lots of different organizations, both municipal as well as educational, and then lots of other specialists. A lot of local day hab centers come out to us with young adults and adults who are interested in vocational training. They might not yet be ready to enter the workforce. They're maybe also participating with Easter Seals, our nonprofit, through our pre-employment transition services, coordinated by what used to be known as Mass Rehab. So they sometimes are coordinating there. We also have partnerships with a lot of local schools. I'll be curious how it looks this fall. We've been fortunate the last 2 academic years to partner with Bridgewater Raynham. They've found funding within their special education department to bring out some 9th 10th and 11th graders weekly for a term of hours during the school day to learn vocational skills and work on interpersonal communication skills in a barn setting. And that's been really great. We also partner with other local schools such as Norton, Foxborough, Canton, Bellingham, et cetera. And then ABA therapists sometimes refer their clients to us. We partner with local organization Village Speech, which is right out of Easton, not too far from here. Pediatricians, neurologists, chiropractors, you name it. A lot of people are recognizing the benefits that equine assisted services can have on everybody, all of us. And so we're happy to kind of be a piece to that and helping provide a robust set of services for those who would like them. We do partner with like-minded organizations and solicit grants and external funding whenever possible. Now it's harder than ever to obtain that, but we're continuously looking for ways in which we can help subsidize the costs for equine assisted services in particular, because let's face it, if you ever taken a horse riding lesson or gone on a trail ride, horses are not cheap, but they are worth it. So we were fortunate to receive a grant from the Kellogg Foundation, which allowed us to provide 15 scholarships last year to a number of individuals who have a disability as well as a self-identification as one of our marginalized populations, which was quite nice to be able to provide, again, equitable opportunities for everybody who wants to ride to be able to do that. And we also benefit from about 30 volunteers a week right now in a variety of capacities. I'll talk more about volunteer opportunities that are available later on. But essentially, we are happy to serve as community service hours, both for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and a number of individuals looking at community service hours, as well as corporate volunteer days. And then we do partner with, of course, Bridgewater State right in town. We host Social Justice Fellows, which is a great partnership where our number of different students from Bridgewater State University come over to us for 10 hours a week throughout the entire academic year. And they focus on helping us improve a small aspect of our programming, and in return, they're building their resumes, getting valuable skill sets to help them in their respective fields of interest, which is pretty nice. We also partner with a lot of other universities within the area, and almost, I would say, probably 360 days out of the year, with the exception of the major holidays. There is a student on campus from one of those schools right there, Boston, Tufts, Sacred Heart, Johnson Wales, et cetera, for doctorate students receiving their doctorate in physical therapy or in occupational therapy. And we'll talk about the roles of those individuals in equine assisted programming shortly. And then, as I mentioned, corporate teamwork days. So different ways in which local vendors and organizations might want to give back to the Bridgewater community and beyond. We are happy to be a host site for, retreats, as well as training, PD days, and of course, volunteer days. So the horses are pretty awesome. They provide a lot of intrinsic motivation that a desk and a regular pen and paper might not for a lot of our learners. And we have a number of families and caregivers who tell us that, my kid just has no desire to do his math homework, but if he's riding backwards on a horse and you hand him a calculator or give him a whiteboard and a marker, and he gets to incorporate a little bit of movement and vestibular input into that while he's doing some math skills, all of a sudden it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more engaging. We have a number of participants who come in, and I say, even like the gym, sometimes we don't want to go to the gym, but we're always happy when we've left the gym. We feel pretty good about it after the fact. A number of individuals who might initially arrive for whatever reason in the car feeling quite dysregulated and out of sorts. And we bring that horse up to the car and help them work on some breathing and energy kind of matching techniques with that animal. And by the time they are done with their session, they're out of the car, they're back in a nice, calm, regulated state, and they leave in a much more positive mood. The animals, of course, help all of our participants build physical and emotional regulation skill set, as well as help with problem solving, and give us an opportunity to increase our coordination and strength, both by working on them, riding them, and around them in their presence. And then, of course, just offering a chance to be outside, be away from a screen for a little bit, if that's something that is beneficial. We have a lot of participants who might rarely, disengage from their screen or their augmented communication or assistive communication device. They might use their iPad, which is great and helpful for a lot of things, but then, struggle a little bit more to interact kinesthetically with people and or other animals or the environment around them. And when they're at the barn, they have a chance to do that and still bring their device with them and communicate with it, but find more meaning in a number of different activities that are more engaging than maybe a traditional classroom or a traditional therapy setting might be for some. We have 4 core programs, and since I was last talking, Lorraine, to your group, the Yosemite Club in the fall, we've introduced a new group, our pony play groups. So that's pretty fun.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So our main 3 core programs are our adaptive riding, meaning when you think of therapeutic horseback riding, you're imagining the tack, meaning the saddle or the equipment, the instruction or the environment is adapted to the specific needs of a rider with a disability, whether that's a physical need, an emotional or behavioral support system that might be necessary, or a combination of the 2. We also offer hippotherapy. Hippotherapy does not involve hippos, sadly. It's Greek for horse, so it's the movement of the horse that serves as a tool to help physical therapists, occupational therapists, and speech and language pathologists help that client meet their functional goals. So riding on a horse is stimulating your brain in so many different ways and kind of tap into areas that otherwise might take a little bit longer to tap into, whether it's working on forming more motor pathways to help with fine and gross motor skill development, or working on speech, right, and developing consonants and sounds, or making selections or autonomy and choices. There's just so many really cool scientific studies that I'm happy to share with you if you're interested outside of this, that demonstrate how the movement of the horse can really be beneficial to a rider in a number of different ways, cognitively, of course, in addition to physically. And then our vocational animal care taking classes are great as well. Those are for children and young adults. And pony play groups is our newest onset that Lorraine did not hear about when I presented last. We've started introducing opportunities for 2 to 4-year-olds and then 5 to 8-year-olds to come together in a group setting. And these are inclusive play groups, meaning it's a space where both individuals with and without disabilities can be together. And what I like to remind parents and caregivers is that not only can the children with disabilities learn about being in a community setting and learn, what the community or society might call as appropriate interactions with horses and safety and whatnot. But it's also really important for peer models who have an equal and, reasonable responsibility to learn how to provide accommodations for those who need that, even at a young age. So if a 2 or 3-year-old comes in and is getting worked up and dysregulated, it's not only that parenting child's goal to help them get to a happier space or a more calm space. It's also the 2 to 4-year-olds goal to help be an open, model and a peer and a friend who can offer help when it's a right time to do so. So we try to adopt that kind of inclusive model from as young as we can. And it's been wildly successful. We've had probably about 50 to 60 new participants in that program alone, trying it out since we introduced it in March. And then that also gives parents an opportunity to consider hippotherapy or adaptive riding or whatnot for their children without necessarily having to commit to a whole 8 or 10-week term of riding lessons or therapy or whatever it might be. So it's a nice kind of drop-in opportunity for families to try out and see if they like it. I'll break down a little bit more about these programs right here. The Animal Caretakers is a great opportunity for folks who learn and adopt more of their activities of daily living, known as ADLs, through various interactive tasks. We have a curriculum we designed to help folks who might want to be more independent and learn basic skills that they could take to a job site down the road, whether that job site is a barn or doesn't have to be. It could still just be lots of transferable skills that help us develop with respect to sequencing and multi-steps. Then our atmosphere in general, interacting with different peers to solve a problem if there's a horse with an injury or an animal that went off its feet and needs a little bit of support, or there's a vet coming out. They get to talk directly with those vendors. They might help make calls to the local feed store in town, Bridgewater Farm and Feed, and check in with Al over there and say, hey, we have this many number of bales of hay left. We need this many, next month. So we need to place an order on this date. And it's really great to be able not only to interact with each other and staff on site, but also to start to bridge the gaps outside of the barn and recognizing the barn's role in the community at large, and how they can be kind of stewards of the animals and the community and make those connections. Our adaptive riding and pony play groups, go to serve, I would say 2/3 of our programming is based upon this right here, where you are looking at modified recreational riding lessons, teaching children and adults how to ride, and fostering their cognitive, their emotional, their physical, and their social development. In general, we see participants who start riding typically are with us year round. We have a nice indoor covered arena space. So with the exception of extreme days like today, it's too hot to ride today, we are able to offer the chance to ride and work with the animals all across the board. We do have some temperature controlled rooms, so those who might be a little bit more sensitive to changes in temperature can stay in a heated room or an air conditioned room, and we can even bring horses into those spaces, which is pretty nice as well. Hippotherapy, the most popular offering for hippotherapy is physical therapy, where clients are looking at different gross motor skill development by sitting in a variety of different positions on the horse. Who would have known that if you're riding a horse forwards, it's good for you. Riding a horse backwards can be even better sometimes. It's challenging in all the ways. If you haven't done it, come on out to the barn. I'm happy to stick you on a horse backwards or forwards. We have all the equipment to get you on, so you can't tell me you can't do it. This brave little guy right here started with us when he was 3. He's 4.5 now. And he was actually, his chiropractor was one who acknowledged that he noticed how much more flexibility he has. His individual walks on his toes quite a bit. He has an autism diagnosis, and chiropractor has noticed much more core strength, trunk strength and control, much more flexibility and range of motion in our shoulders and our neck. And his speech is coming along in conjunction with, of course, his speech therapist. He's also making great gains, and we provide continuity of care by helping him with prompting and providing commands to his horse when he's on. That's Stevie the Wonder Pony that he's riding in our outdoor arena right there, and he's doing a great job. All right. Occupational therapy is also an opportunity for individuals to achieve functional goals and gains through a variety of different inputs, whether it is helping with fine motor control, coordination, balance, attention, sequencing, step-by-step or multi-step instructions. There are so many clasps and buckles and little pieces to each puzzle of getting a horse ready, that it's an occupational therapist's dream. And the fun part is that, again, you're not just sitting there with a board on your lap teaching a kid how to zip or unzip or button and unbutton a shirt or whatnot. There's a horse. We get to put a horse's raincoat on because it's rainy out. That's pretty fun. Do you want to put on the blue raincoat or the red raincoat? It's a lot more engaging than working with something that doesn't seem to have as much meaning. So the intrinsic motivation of the animals is huge. And these are a couple of participants right here. The top photo is our horse Lionel. You'll hear more about him momentarily, with 2 participants in one of our occupational therapist-led groups for horsemanship. And then the bottom is a young woman she's riding the horse backwards, bareback. So you see there's no saddle. She has a little cushion, but there's no saddle. She's reaching with one arm to slide those wiffle ball pieces across our wiffle ball abacus. And she is counting different colors and shapes and sorting them into colors. So just think about all the different steps going on there. Never
Oh.
mind just sitting on a horse bareback and reaching and staying on, right? So you're able to target a lot of really different aspects of growth in one session. And here, this is OT, but we're doing a lot of PT as well, and we're having fun at the same time. So that's always great. So what can that equine movement address, specifically with hippotherapy? And these bullets give you an outline of that. So ways to help improve postural control, your balance. That 74-year-old participant I told you about earlier when I gave you our current range of ages, he did ride a handful of times just as, you know, for fun, trail rides on vacations. He's not an avid equestrian by any means, but he did suffer from a stroke two years ago, and he's relearned how to walk and talk, and he's still having limited mobility in his left side. And in even the last 3 months alone of riding a horse, as recommended by his neurologist, he's becoming much more confident alongside, walking next to the horse, and of course riding forwards, and he rides that horse backwards, you best believe. So for him, his neurologist recommended it for a lot of his sensory motor integration, which is that third from final bullet there, the timing and coordination for planning how to get on and get off a horse, helping kind of connect, right, the muscle memory and what he knows he wants his body to do, and then actually getting the body to do that in a timely fashion. So it's just pretty amazing to see what the movement of the horses can do under different settings for different individuals. How do we get the horses to do this? People always like to ask. The truth is we don't. They're 1,000 pounds at the least, and if they don't want to do it, they're not going to do it. So we tend to look for animals who are intrinsically, just like, you know, they're intrinsically motivating to us. We look for animals who are intrinsically motivated by friends and food, and friends being human friends. They are looking for interaction. We do still have to train them on a number of different facets. So you see this lift right here. We have a couple individuals who are using our mechanical lift, and the horses aren't used to a big piece of machinery going over their backs, making kind of some grinding noises. So it takes a lot of positive reinforcement and clicker training to help them do that. The photo on the far right is an individual who rides our oldest horse, our 25-year-old horse, Max. And on the left side are two of our horses. Again, they all look the same. I'll talk about fjords momentarily. But most of our horses are in their 10s to teens. Our horses are selected for a number of different factors, but in general, they all are fairly stout, fairly solid, and what we call easy keepers. They don't require a very elaborate diet. We feed them very well, but they're horses that are used to colder climates, and they have a slower metabolism. Their Norwegian Fjord is one of our favorite breeds, and here are 4 of them. They make 4 out of our 8 horses that we have. You notice they all have that cream color. They have a fun dorsal stripe down their back. Hopefully you'll get to come visit them at some point. And this particular breed, as you can see there, and that is a photo taken from a friend of ours who lives in Norway, is used to kind of going up and down fjords, so to speak. They can be rather chunky little guys, but they can support a lot of weight. And we can support our riders easily because we're not reaching way up to help provide that support. So in general, the 8 horses that we have are filling a number of different roles. They are listening to the verbal cues of one rider who's learning to speak. They're listening to the physical cues of one rider who's learning to tap with their heels or their legs. They might be learning a different adaptive cue with a finger or on the reins, or a tap of a stick on their shoulder for a rider who doesn't have the mobility with their legs. So they have to be quite versatile and adaptive in nature. It's pretty neat to see. And I, again, highly recommend, if you haven't had a chance, feel free to email me after and set up a visit to come out and meet these horses. This guy is our received therapy horse of the year. He's pretty awesome. This is Lionel. So you get a chance to see just how versatile he is. He's working on lift training on the left there. He's in a pony play group in the center, and then he's with one of our participants who's been riding in an adaptive setting. Before they called it adaptive riding, it was just therapeutic riding. She's been riding for the past, I think, 55, 65 years. She started when she was an elementary school student. Her name is Barb, and she rides with us every Wednesday. She's great. So here are a series of our horses, just to give you an idea of what we have here. We've got a few different ones. And then in particular, what, can you take away from this? Hopefully you'll be able to recognize that we have a lot of services. If you know anybody in the community that is looking, that you can recommend they come out and meet with us. Not all of our services have a fee. We offer at least 4 public events a year, seasonally. So we just had our fishing derby in the spring. In the summer, we hold a number of open houses available with kind of free setup and family days. In the fall, we have a large trunk or treat event as well. And in the winter, we tend to do a kind of a winter open house as well. So lots of chances for folks to come out and meet and greet the animals, which is fun, as well as to meet the staff, get a chance to see what's out there. So following our group is a great way to stay engaged and let people know that we exist. A lot of folks don't realize the Bridge Center opened back up, number one. Number two, that it was acquired by the Easter Seals, which is a fairly well-known organization. We do a lot. I'm just talking to you about the horse stuff. We do so much more. So I could fill up all of your monthly meetings for months at a time with the other assistive technology that, whatever. We have so many different options, but this is based out of Bridgewater, what we have right here in town. And then, of course, if you or anyone is in an organization or a community that is eager to give back in any way, like I'd love to connect with the garden. There must be a garden club in town. I'd love to connect with them and build a farm to tables type style, more sustainable cooking group. We offer adult recreational and adaptive cooking classes here on site as well. And right now, we have a great set of compost that we can turn into. We have some adaptive and accessible garden beds. We don't have the bandwidth to physically take care of that garden ourselves, but how great would it be if we could have a group come out and help with that? And then we can bring out our adults who volunteer with us and participate in vocational training programming with us to care for that garden, and then raise some of the herbs and vegetables that we might then bring into the kitchen on site on that really fancy glass building you saw earlier to cook with the very ingredients that, were grown on campus. So that's one of our goals looking into next summer, not so much this summer because we're already in the peak of it with the heat today, but there are lots of opportunities for that.
Wow.
And then finally, again, with respect to our horses that we offer, we are a nonprofit. People are always looking for ways in which we can provide scholarships to participants. One way is to help us do that by cutting down the overhead for the horses. Horses are expensive. They do eat quite a bit. They're wonderful animals. We do have 8 of them. So having organizations or individuals sponsor those horses annually is a great opportunity as well to share commitment to different activities such as equine assisted ones and to get word out. And then, of course, whether you or somebody is interested to get involved, we have all sorts of volunteer opportunities. Yes, in the barn, a lot of them are pretty physical in nature, but that does not mean you have to be able to walk or jog alongside a horse to participate with us. We have a number of administrative tasks, other volunteer coordination, and just scheduling our volunteers it takes a lot of bandwidth for us. And we do it willingly and happily. Our volunteers are amazing, and we couldn't work our programming without them. We do provide a lot of training as well. So there's opportunities for anyone, even younger individuals some people are looking for church or different community service organizations to get in 5 to 50 hours at a time. And we're happy to do a one-off project or arrange for weekly volunteer options too. That gives you the end of my spiel. Are there any questions I can immediately answer? I want to be respectful of your time as well and give Colton his chance to chat. But if there are, definitely let me know. If not, I'm going to leave my email up here for a moment so that you guys can reach me. I think I'm in that chat with everybody.
Okay. I have a couple questions, actually.
Yeah.
You mentioned the average age of the horse was around 10 years old.
Yeah.
How old do you utilize him to? 15?
Yeah, that's
20?
great question, David. Our current oldest horse right now is 25. We like to
Wow.
think of this as a soft landing for the horses. And just like adults and humans, you know, you keep moving, move it or lose it. So as long as they stay moving in a low, low stress, low impact kind of way, we hope that they get to live out their final days with us. And in the event that for some reason they couldn't, we would find them an appropriate place to retire if they needed space from humans. But all the horses with us love and appreciate the care that they receive from the humans. So they tend to, as they slow down and they maybe can't canter in a lesson anymore or trot and they're just walking, we still have enough participants who are also just walking that we can kind of turn down their schedule, but keep them actively in programming, whether it's unmounted horsemanship and brushing or whatnot. But yeah, the average lifespan is anywhere from, I would say, 20, 25 to some of them can go up to 30 years old.
Oh, wow. Great.
So yeah.
You kind of touched on it. What is the ultimate retirement spot for the horses when they're older like that and they cannot participate anymore?
Yeah,
How
great
do you
question.
handle it?
And I
Yeah.
actually have it. I have a sample for you let me find it right there. So this mare, Bella, so she's the brown horse that young woman is riding backwards right there. And then she is here. Let me pull her up. Where's Bella? Bella, there she is. Bella on the left, 2003. So Bella is 20. She'll be 24
Wow.
this year. And she
Beautiful.
actually, you see her right there on the left. She's a beautiful horse. She has some more advanced arthritis developing, which does preclude her from even doing a lot of walking and programming right now and trotting. So on her end, we've actually coordinated with her owner. She is one of the horses that is a lifetime free lease for us, meaning we don't own her. We have a partnership with her family. And for them, it takes the financial burden of paying for a horse out because we cover all care. But now she's at a point where, because of her arthritis and the nature of her conformation, when you think of a gymnast who kind of overdid it in their younger years, now she really feels it. She was a jumper. She did a lot of really active competitive eventing in her day. So she is going to retire to a sonnet to a Land's End farm actually in a couple weeks. And we do have a new horse coming in. And we have a student who rides with one of our instructors who's in her 20s. She's a recovering traumatic brain injury individual, relearning how to walk again. She was in a bad car accident about 5 to 6 years ago. And she's not at a point where she is doing a lot of independent riding yet, but she'd love to get a horse of her own one day. So we were able to coordinate through my network of different horse people and whatnot for this young woman to adopt Bella and take care of her because she's learning all the groundwork and bring her to a farm where she can work one-on-one as a horse of hers and gradually build up her comfort working every day, caring for this horse, and then let her have a softer retirement where she doesn't have to be ridden anymore at all. She just gets to live out on green pastures and go back from being a lesson horse down to a one-person horse where she gets to really connect and bond with one person in her final retirement.
That's really nice. Does anyone else have questions for Cindy today?
I wanted to make a comment. Cindy, you totally amazed me. This is obviously the second time that I've heard your presentation, and it is truly amazing everything that you offer. Just doing the presentations, like you said, bring about the awareness. And I believe our San Joaquin Women's Club will be coming out in October.
Yes,
Do a
yeah,
meeting there. So I'm excited about that. But it is amazing everything that you offer and you continue to offer. It's just I don't know what more to say.
Oh,
You
well,
know.
thank you. Thank you very much,
Yes.
Lorraine. And I will
Yeah.
add that we've been pleasantly surprised. We've been able to have Stephanie from your club has been volunteering quite a bit with us since
really?
that meeting. So
Great.
that exact meeting was what sparked it. I saw her in that little buffet line, and she comes out
Fantastic.
every Wednesday, and she's brought her daughter out. And so we have a really dedicated, great volunteer from that group alone, and she's
Oh,
helped a ton.
wonderful. Great.
So I
Nice.
appreciate everything you do as well.
No, thank you so much. Really. We appreciate you.
Is-
Excellent. Well,
Other questions
you
for
again.
Cindy at all? Oh, I just have one last question, Cindy. The
Yeah.
financial aspect of it, is any of this covered by insurance for?
yeah,
folks that
great
qualify?
question.
Good question.
So, yeah, so we're hoping to soon. The short of it is not yet. The longer of it is that currently hippotherapy, which is a clinical service, does have CPT codes, which we can provide a super bill, and we have got insurance carriers such as Blue Cross Blue Shield to reimburse up to 80% of these
Oh.
costs.
Amazing.
I will say we can't guarantee that. We are actively looking to accept insurance. But yeah, we're happy to work with that and provide the code necessary. And then DDS does offer self-directed funding. Of course, we have a partnership with them, and there are a number of individuals who are able to receive reimbursement through that. But working on it, continuously working on it for the insurance. And then something else to note is that if you know anybody, or even if there's anywhere where it can live, we do have a 7-page document of outside third-party organizations that have in past provided funding for our equine assisted services. So we're happy, we can't, say that we guarantee that, but we're happy to be the middleman and say, hey, here's a list to a family who's interested. We recommend applying to a number of these, and these are all organizations that have given funding for this as well. So we have that document and we send it out to families all the time. So if there's somewhere where it could live, we're happy to have it posted there too.
Great. Last chance, everyone. Does anyone else have a question for Cindy before we end? Well, thank you very much, Cindy. That was a tremendously interesting presentation.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate your time. And I've learned a lot because I really didn't know a lot about
Yeah.
your operation, and thank you. I really
Thank you
appreciate
so much, guys. We really appreciate your time, and
Yeah.
best of luck. And please don't hesitate to come out and visit, even if you just want to drive by on a not so hot day. Send me an email. I would love to show you around, just so that you know what it's like.
We will
Thank
be
you very
there.
much.
Definitely, Cindy. We will be there.
Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, guys,
Thank
you.
take care. Thank you again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So later in the presentation under old business, we had Marathon Park modification update. And we're very fortunate, and I'm moving ahead with another guest. I'm very fortunate to have Carlton Hunt with us today. He represents the Community Preservation Committee. I actually joined Carlton very shortly for one of their last meetings. It was a very filled agenda, and there was a couple of other people that were going to speak, and there really wasn't a lot of time for us. So Carlton has agreed to participate and answer questions. So welcome, Carlton.
Thank you very much. Josh, can I share screen too?
Yep, you're all set.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. Basically, if I can figure this out, come on. Well, I'm never good at this.
Join the
probably-
crowd.
Yes.
There it is.
Good
Can you
job.
see that?
Yes.
Okay, so basically, with community preservation, I want to talk with you a little bit about what community preservation is, give you a little bit of examples, and then really focus in on some of our goals that we have as a community preservation committee and a town, in fact, related to your charges. So basically, we've had a lot of projects. Here's what I'm going to talk about, and basically where it came from, why we have it, some definitions, which are really critical for all of us to understand. My slides will be a little bit more wordy than Cindy's were. I'm not such a professional presenter. I'll talk a little bit about our funding sources. I think it's important for people to understand this is public money that comes to us, and in a couple of ways, we'll talk about that. And then I just want to point out 2 documents. We have a 5-year plan that we just accepted this year Every 5 years, the state law requires us to put out an update our 5-year plan. It has goals and et cetera. And then we also have a very thorough document on the website called for policies and procedures. A long time ago, I thought that everybody needed to know what we were, the things I just talked about, et cetera. So moving on. This is very noisy slide, but it's state law. It was 2000 early 2000s was passed, and it's a statute that allows a community to adopt the Community Preservation Act. The membership and that act, CPA, also says you have to have a committee, a CPC. So Bridgewater, back in the few years ago, like 15 or so, decided to do this. It took a little bit of work, but we have, the state law requires five members to be on that committee. One is the Conservation Commission, one is Historical Commission, one's a Planning Board, somebody from a Parks Commissioners, and then the Housing Authority, for example, the Bridgewater Housing Authority. And I've put the names and dates of end of their appointments up here. Harry Bailey, I think Jeff Merriman has had to step aside, and I think someone else is going to take Mr. Moore. Pat Driscoll's Planning Board, Gina Costoni is Parks and Rec. She's a longtime person. She's the chair of the committee. And our ordinance also allows 3 additional organizations in town that are related to the CPA opportunities. One is the Open Space Committee, and Maureen Manasian is on that there. The Historic District Commission, and the Historic District Commission is basically the downtown part of the Bridgewater around the Central Square and any buildings, et cetera, that touch that square. And that commission has a lot to say about what you can do within that area. And then there's the Affordable Housing Trust. This is a organization that Bridgewater adopted, but never really got underway. And it's currently inactive, and there are no appointments to our committee. And the last one that is on the committee is a member at large. It's appointed by the town manager and ratified by the town council. And that's me, and I'm vice chair. I've been that for several years now. I've been on the committee, I think, going on 5 or 6 years. So very quickly, anything in green here is a town that's adopted the Community Preservation Act. Anything in orange is a city, and Bridgewater is a city known as the town of Bridgewater. That's our official call. I'm not going to go into too much statistics, but 71% of the Massachusetts residents are in a CPA community. It's generated over $3.5 billion in preservation funds, over 17,000 projects approved by the various legislative bodies, 13,000 affordable units have been created. CPA has protected about 38,000 of open space lands. We're just completing one here in Bridgewater. And then there's lots of outdoor recreation projects. And I know you're interested in the recreation for the most part, so that I'm going to try to focus this on that. So there are 4 areas in Community Preservation Act that are eligible for funds raised by Community Preservation Act. One is open space, 2 is historic. Sorry, I have a tendency to dry out when I'm talking. And the 3rd is recreation, and 4th is housing. And there's a bunch of verbs that go along with each of these. So where you see the yeses, the CPC can recommend and the town council can appropriate funds for open space, acquisition, historic preservation, recreation, housing. We can also create open space. History is a little hard to create. We just have to let it happen. Recreation, yes. So again, housing. We can preserve, we can support, and we can rehabilitate or restore. So today we're talking about what recreation opportunities are. Acquire, so we can buy land for recreation. We can create recreation. That's put a park in a land that the town owns already. We can preserve recreation facility, especially if it was paid for by CPA funds in the past. We cannot support, and that's a very specific definition. and we can rehabilitate and restore. And I'm going to briefly touch on housing because housing and disability issues can go hand in hand in a lot of cases. So there are things that we can do with housing. We can't rehabilitate unless we required it. So this is some definitions very quickly. Open space is, as you might think, land to protect existing well fields, aquifers, forest lands, etc. Historic resources are buildings, structures, vessels, property, documents, artifacts. Basically, they have to be on the federal historic register of places, or they need to be deemed significant by the local historical commission to the culture, architecture, history, and archaeology of the town. Now to recreation land. We can acquire land for active or passive recreation. It can include the use of land for community gardens, trails, non-commercial youth and adult sports, and the use of land as a playground, park, or an athletic field. Unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, it does not include horse and dog track racing or the use of lands for major structures like a stadium or gymnasium. That's a separate thing. And community housing basically goes to low and moderate income. And you can see the numbers there. Moderate income I can't see it, so I can't read it. Basically, it's all defined by federal and state law. So this is what we want to talk about. Park, playground, and athletic field is my understanding. Acquisition, I just put this up again to remind us what we can do in terms of acquisition, creation, and preservation. And basically, these are definitions: obtain property, create, protect personal property. There's the other one is the rehab and restoration and support. And there's an example of rehab and restoration that I want to talk about a little bit. It's
Accessible.
a project to fund new accessible toddler playing ground equipment, new ground surfaces or walkways. It can also assist there was a project in Acton that actually renovated a parkland or playground for fully accessible use. And that was done not too long ago. But the equipment was installed back in 1996, but it had deteriorated, and so they were done. So there's precedent for what I think you guys are looking to do. I just put up here, we also are supporting the Housing Authority for their window and some door replacement. CPA funded that. $300,000 was put into that project per their request in town appropriation, council appropriation. That enabled another grant. Ours was a planning grant and some installation, but there's another grant that enabled them to get, so they're upgrading some housing. There's a couple of questions to talk about, and I don't know if Cindy's on here, but I think it's important since they're a nonprofit. CPA funds can be used for government entity or 501(c) nonprofits. We've had applications from some nonprofits, specifically churches, that kind of thing, and some have accepted, some have not. We have to take a little bit careful with non-incorporated entities and individual homeowners, but that's a possibility. What we can't use it is, there's a term called supplant, and basically that's using CPA funds for something the town is obligated to do regardless. And so we can't supplant that, and that's a challenge for us to make sure that's not happening. We also cannot pay for maintenance of any real or personal property. So anything we're talking about in the future would be of the terms I talked about before: acquisition, rehabilitation, but not maintenance. From a budget perspective, we put together a budget that annually the town council has to approve. We recommend, and the town council approves it. The law requires us to set aside 10% of our funds for 3 categories, and the rest is undesignated, and up to 5% for an administrative account. And so basically, we can bond funds. So from a historic preservation perspective, we bonded the Keith Homestead acquisition and preservation years ago. And we've also bonded the Academy building, which was restored. So that bond is there. Budgetary reserve can fit any of those categories. And the 5% for the administrative is if we need to do a study to see if something's appropriate. For example, right now, I'm looking at whether or not we should do an assessment of the first cemetery in Bridgewater, the 1717 cemetery at Summer Street and Plymouth Street intersection. We don't know what the cost to restore that. So we need to pay for someone to come in and assess that. We've done that a number of times over the years. So a little bit of more history. The CPA 5-year plan was adopted this January. As I said, there are several major themes that were named out, and I've underlined the things that are relevant to your interests, I believe. But we want to prioritize holistic planning, that kind of thing. But we also have a goal of promoting, or a theme of promoting and promote proactive and strategic management of Bridgewater's existing space, open space and recreation resources. So that is one of the things that we heard loud and clear. There's other things about affordable housing, focus on the downtown area, pursue opportunities to strengthen partnerships and leverage CPA funding for grants. We have talked about how that's been successful. I think the McElwain School that was restored, the CPA put up $1.3 million towards that, one for a park and one for historic preservation purposes and housing. That enabled, and the CPA paid for that building to be put on the National Historic Places because CPA funded that. The purchasers of that property were able to apply, and it was designated as such. They were able to apply for other grants. So CPA funds were used to enable other grants and other projects. The other piece that's most important is the bottom line: enhance the accessibility of open space and recreational resources by creating new connections and access points, as well as increasing physical accessibility for all users. And I think that's what we're talking about in a nutshell here.
Mm-hmm.
The open space thing, this actually gets into some goals. We want to our goals that we adopt to rehabilitate and restore existing town-owned parks, playgrounds, recreational facilities. We mentioned Jana Leonard Park, which has never really been developed, but we included Marathon. This is a quote. So Marathon Park is included in that. Rehab of various facilities, et cetera, create comprehensive connected bike trails, rehabilitate access to water bodies. But again, number 5 is really relevant here. Create inclusive outdoor recreational facilities designed to meet the needs of all residents of all ages, abilities, pickleball courts, tennis courts, ADA accessible amenities. So we'll talk a little bit about the process that we go through, but those are goals that we absolutely have put forward for the town and that we can fund, just highlighting things. In the housing, we want to create and preserve affordable housing options for residents. And it can be at locations that provide easy access to services and other resources, and accessibility. Again, the term accessibility comes up. There's some other pieces there. Create affordable community housing through adaptation of a building. For example, a housing building would be one, but we did fund, I'm going to show this in a minute. So how do we get our money? The CPA law was passed back in 2006, and we have a surcharge on property taxes for any residential type facility, whether it's a duplex, single family house, an apartment building. So it's a 2% surcharge on a tax bill after the first $100,000 of assessed value is removed. That's a general law in the state. We also have an exception that property owned and occupied by a person who would qualify for low-income housing or low to moderate income housing also can get an exception from that. And that's critical to understand because we may have homebound individuals with accessibility issues. They're there living, they have to pay property tax, they may low income, but they can get an exception from the CPA tax, which is not, it's not huge, but I misspoke, surcharge, not tax. And here's some other exemptions that because where you guys work and where you're focused is veterans with 100% disability can get exemptions from property tax. Veterans with various service-related disabilities can, or spouses. Paraplegic veterans and surviving can get exceptions on their taxes. Elderly seniors, senior work-off, abatements under various chapters. So those are things that I think is important for you folks to know. And I'm going to thank you for listening, but I also want to say we have a process that we developed. First of all, we asked people to come and talk to us a little bit about what they might want. Maybe after those conversations, we would ask you to fill out an eligibility form. That eligibility form is online. I should have put it up here. It's online. It's fairly simple. You just fill it out, say the amount of money you're thinking about, reasonable estimate, and click on it's recreational, and then describe what you're looking for. So the Marathon Park, if you were looking to have accessibility supported, or I think more importantly, accessible equipment funded, then you would describe all of that. And we would look at those goals and guidance that we have and determine if it's eligible. If we determine that it is eligible, then there's an application that goes into a lot more detail. And I won't describe it, but it's who's applying for it. Typically a town organization sends it to the town manager. The town manager would send it to the CPA for consideration. We asked that the town, we've had a couple of nonprofits send us that are dealing with, well, a couple of organizations in town that are town organizations that have sent it directly to us, and we've sent it back because we need to know that the town manager is on board also with this as we move forward. So that application gets filled out, we vet it, we talk about it, and then we vote to if let's, for example, if a project came in for $150,000 for accessible playground equipment, we would recommend that to the town council, who would then take on their procedures. It would be put forward by the town manager at our recommendation, CPA recommendation. It would be put forward to the town council, who would then send it to the finance committee and the budget and finance committee of the town council, who would also vet it and make recommendations back to the town council. Then the town council, that's a 2-week process. And then the town council, 2 weeks after that, would take it up and vote whether or not to fund the project. By the CPA law, the town council has 3 options. They can accept it as recommended, they can deny it as recommended, or they can modify the cost. They can't increase the cost, but they can reduce the cost. I've never had that happen. We've never had that happen, but those are options that the town council has. I think I've covered all the details with a lot of words, some very busy slides, and I'm really anxious to hear what your thinking is. I appreciate it.
Well,
Thank
first of
you.
all, Carlton, thank you for being
Yeah.
here and sharing that information. That was kind of eye-opening.
Yes.
One of the things I'm glad you threw out right near the end, you threw out a $150,000 price tag for something, and that's kind of good because a couple of things I just want to bring up. So what the Disability Commission is saying is we'd like to do a proposal for Marathon Park. The good news about Marathon Park, we walked it in detail. It's wonderfully maintained, and it's an attractive destination for children and their family members. You can't ask for a nicer looking park. However, as with many playgrounds in the area, there's a lot that could be done to upgrade and improve the assortment of attractions for children with disabilities, and then also to improve the area's mobility accessibility. So what we found in the whole park, there's 2 play course swings for children with disabilities. One of the swings accommodates children aged 5 to 12. The other swing accommodates children 2 to 5, so 2 total swings. In addition to that, there's one large attraction that has slides involved in it. And on that particular feature, you can take a wheelchair halfway up the structure and utilize 2 of the slides. But out of the whole Marathon Park, that is the only features that are available for children with disability. The other issue with Marathon Park, again, is many attractions for children that do not have disability, and it's maintained with a mulch surface under all the rides and attractions. That could be good for some people, but if you're a child with disabilities and difficulty in walking, or if you're a senior citizen with difficulty there with your grandchildren, it's very difficult walking. We walked around the whole park, and at the front section of the park where they have a small swing set, the mulch area is 3 inches below the sidewalk that goes around the entire park. In the back half of the park, the mulch area that is going to the sidewalk towards the back swing set is about 2 inches below the sidewalk. So in any case, it's a little bit difficult for people in a wheelchair, walker, walking with a crutch, or any other disability to be able to maneuver from the mulch area to the sidewalk. It's also hard to walk on mulch. If you haven't tried it, it's very difficult to utilize. So there's a couple of proposals that the Disability Commission would like to make. Number one, I think it would be great if there was additional attractions in Marathon Park that would meet the needs of our Bridgewater residents with disabilities. Maybe multi-sensory play stations, support kids with autism. Actually, there is, and I had no idea what kind of money is available. There is rides such as a wheelchair swing where you just push the wheelchair right onto the swing and it goes back and forth, and the child can actually sit in the wheelchair. The basic price for a feature like that that I could see is around $3,500 unassembled. You can buy a merry-go-round that accommodates wheelchairs for somewhere between $10,000 and $25,000. And eye-opening to me, the 2 swings that we have currently there go anywhere from $600 to $1,200 just for one swing like we are already having at the park. So everything is very expensive. The biggest expense I see would be doing a rubberized surface in the play area that would meet a lot of different needs. It would make it more accessible for people with disabilities. It'd be safer because if you fell down on a rubberized surface, it would prevent a lot of injuries that you could get now. And it would impact both elder people there with their grandchildren of people with disabilities. So I don't even know what a rubberized surface would cost, but I have to believe for an area like that, about $100,000 or more. It's a great park. There's a lot of space to add more attractions in the current area. And I guess that's where we would go. We did do some write-ups that we can embellish, in a presentation, certainly more than I just did now, but I don't want to go on and on with information, but that's kind of where we're coming from, Carlton.
I hear you. I actually, my second son is the CEO of it's called Partners in Child Development. They work with all levels of disability. He's up in Andover, Mass. And I think in one of their areas is a playground that actually has that rubberized surface. I will also say, if you go on the web, you can type in Community Preservation Act Coalition. And if you go into that website, they have a database of all projects statewide that have received CPA funds. And you can focus it on in terms of years, you can focus it on recreation and that kind of thing. And you can actually find a number of projects that were funded for the kinds of things you're talking about. So there's a pretty good history of that. And so it's likely a lot of this would be eligible. I think it's important, the research you've done is really important to have in the eligibility. We have a place you can describe what you want to do, and you could list, you could use a rough ballpark number, but you should list, I would recommend that you list in that application, that eligibility form, specific things that you would like to have done. Because if it's important for us to know the details, it's even more important to be able to convey to the town council those details if we go through the application. So that's my thinking on that right now. And it's really, you've done the research, some of the research, I think that's great. If you tomorrow, our next meeting is tomorrow night, as long as we have quorum. So it's at 6:30 on a Zoom meeting. As far as I know, we have quorum. I've heard of a couple people may not come, but I think I've gotten a couple of the people I was concerned about said they will be attending. So anyway, it's tomorrow night. We have public comment. Happy to have you do a little bit of a presentation, David, in terms of what your thinking is. I didn't show it in the meeting tomorrow. You'll see we have fiduciary responsibility. We receive a report from the town finance department that shows how much money we've generated against our budget in the year. And quite frankly, we're running ahead of our 2% surcharge significantly. We're very conservative in our estimates because you never know. And then the other one that is significant, and I forgot to mention, is we have a match that comes in from the state trust for the CPA. That state match early on in the program, because Bridgewater was an early adopter, early on in the process, Bridgewater got 100% match. So if we raised $200,000, we got $200,000 from the state. That's no longer the case because, as I showed in that first slide, there's I think 2/3 of the towns, cities in Bridgewater, Massachusetts have adopted it, including big towns like Boston. And they generate a lot of money, but they also can get a lot of state match. But that state match is, the trust fund is funded by not taxes, but it's funded by fees generated when any filing occurs at the Plymouth County Register of Deeds, any other county's registry of deeds. There's a $50 charge, recently upgraded. There's a $50 charge for every filing. That filing goes into the trust fund. That trust fund, then Department of Revenue, then distributes that trust fund money on an annual basis. There's a formula for it. And if a 2% city, there's a 1%, 2%, and a 3% bucket. People that did 3% get more money than people that do 2% and 1%. But there's a double-edged process to get money. I don't know if I thought I had the slide there, but basically right now, over the almost 20 years that CPA has been in play, the town has received about 33% of its funding for CPA projects from the trust fund, basically fee money. So, and our resources are fairly good right now. And the finance department will show the projects that are underway, but we also have that buckets for each of those accounts, the 10% accounts, et cetera, the designated reserve. We can talk about that. I'm going to say available funds is probably in the order, it could be spread across all four of those areas, but it's available funds right now are somewhere around $2 million.
Oh, wow.
And
Well, that's nice to hear.
fortunately, the Hanson Farm conservation restriction is finally in place, and the Hanson Farm received a state grant for $3 million that the CPA didn't have to come up with. So
That was
we
great.
were able,
Yeah.
because
Excellent.
yeah, it's great. Because the town applied for that, called an MVP, Municipal Vulnerability Program grant. The state awarded that to protect the farmland. And all CPA had to do was come up with a 1% match.
Wow.
So that left a lot of money for all these other, and we're here, we carry a list. We carry a list of right now, I think it's 6 or 7 potential projects coming in. There's some recreational stuff that folks, recreation department's working on for some recreational facilities this is a challenging piece because it would be on the middle school property. So we have to work out some things there, but that's something in place. There's a couple of other things that may be relevant that you guys should be aware of. I don't know where it's at, but the other thing, because this is I'm talking too much.
It's okay.
I wanted to ask a question too.
Somebody's right. Well, it's being taped.
Well,
One other
a couple
thing is-
things. Oh, go on.
I say one more thing, because this involves the recreation department
Yes, yeah,
and the Rex and Park Commission,
His
letters of
parents
support
wanted it.
would be really important.
yes.
Okay, good.
Yep, David?
So a couple of things for just real
Oh.
quick, Carlton. I'm tied up tomorrow night, but I really am excited about this project. So I hope you're able to put me on the agenda with other members of our Disability Commission for the following month that you meet. And I would be very excited to share what our vision is for Marathon Park, because I think, and also in my presentation, there's other parks that are around here that do a lot of things that would really upgrade our community to several of the ones right around us with an improvement of Marathon Park. And I just like to have that opportunity to speak to it. So if you could put us on the agenda for the following month, I would be very happy about that.
We typically do that during public comment, but I'm more than happy to, actually, I will convey what I understand you're asking for right now for the Marathon Park.
Okay.
Having more information would be great. And I see somebody else's hands up.
David?
Yes.
Excuse me. Through you, Carlton, first of all, thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. I do recall when the CPA came into effect, there was a
Mhm.
vote. I think it's the greatest thing that ever happened. We've used it for so many wonderful projects, but I learned an awful lot. I really did, and I'm sure everybody else has too. My question is, we're obviously a disabilities commission, and my thought was, and I had mentioned to David, I would think it'd be very important for us to jump on board with the recreation department, Parks and Rec, because wouldn't that be a very important piece for us to be involved? Isn't Marathon Park, is that under their purview then? The
You know,
recreation department? I'm wondering how that works.
Well, the Parks and Rec Commission has some oversight and commission responsibilities. And I'll leave
Okay.
it at that, but I think working with them, especially through Gina, who's
Yes.
our chair, but
Right.
working with her would be the first step, and then she could take it to the Rec Commission. So I think that's probably the right direction.
Yes, that's
Good.
what I was wondering.
But
Yeah.
the other piece of that would be the
Yeah.
Parks Department, the superintendent of the parks, because we can't do maintenance, so we can't fund that. But having the superintendent and the Recs and Park Commission, their hands together is important.
Oh, right. That's what I thought. They're an important piece to all of this, I would think. The
Good.
recreation department,
Yeah, and
so,
I can convey the thoughts, but yes, I recommend you actually talk about to that Rec Commission too.
yes, that's what I thought. Yes, thank you.
Does anyone
Yeah.
else have questions for Carlton at this point? Oh, thank you very much, Carlton. Actually, I learned a lot today too, and I think we all did. I
Great meeting.
appreciate your time and knowledge. So thank you very much.
Yeah, the last piece, if you really want to read something, go to the coalition's website, but also go to the town website, go to the Community Preservation Committee website, and you'll see the 5-year plan, and you'll also see our policies and procedures document. It's pretty dense, but it's good to read it. And thank you
Okay.
for the opportunity to educate. We really appreciate it.
No,
Thank
thank
you
you.
again.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you very
You're
much.
Take care.
Take care, Carlton.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye now. Everyone, it's been kind of a long meeting, but there's a couple of things I just wanted to go over quick. One other thing that I think Estelle might have brought up, but I'm not positive, at the last meeting about back to Marathon Park about additional handicap parking. Was that you, Estelle? There was
See,
someone
what
that,
you said, we were gonna wait on that.
well,
remember?
you know, I don't know. I mean, I think that's something we could reach out to, who would we reach out to?
Be the highway department.
Highway Department and see if they would consider it, because there really isn't a
Sign.
lot of expense here. All we're looking for is 2 to
Signs.
4 more signs on, maybe 1 or 2 on each side of the gate, in addition to the 2 that are there now. It certainly makes sense. It's not a big expense. I don't know why we really would want to or need to wait on that particular thing, because I think they could do that, post haste. So I'll bring that up for the next meeting. Excuse me one sec, guys. Hi. Okay. No, not really. So you just do that second.
My notes are all over the place. I will do the best I can to recreate this meeting.
Sure you
'cause there's a
will.
lot.
Lorraine, if, it was my understanding that the Parks and Rec Commission has been disbanded, or they're not, there is no Parks and Rec Commission right now. Is that the town manager, ended it? Is that,
Still there.
No, they're active. They're
Yeah,
active.
they're-
Yeah.
Gina still
they're
runs it.
active.
Yeah,
well, I
Yeah.
know Gina is, but, there
Yeah.
is no Parks and Rec program at all in town. There's nothing going on.
Well, there's nothing as far as the specific. I know what you're talking about, like the summer programs and things like
Yeah,
that.
right.
But
Nancy
there is
Wood
a Parks and
said
Rec Commission that
is
is,
a commission.
they're
Okay.
active and they're
But there's
viable.
no
so
programming. I got
That's why I was thinking, I think it's really important for us to kind of head in that direction, working with that. They're a town board, it's recreation and it's Marathon Park and, to be working with them also.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, but like
Kind of
I had
back-
mentioned, if you guys are okay, I will do the best I can to piece together some of these minutes, but I can't do a major
Don't
4-page,
worry about it.
you know?
God bless,
It's a
God
lot.
bless you. I don't know how you keep up with the notes for something.
I'm
like
trying to listen and
Oh
participate
my
and keep
gosh.
scribbling my
Um,
notes, so,
I am going to put together, Carlton's going to put us on the agenda for a month from tomorrow, or whatever the date of their next meeting. And I'll put together a presentation, including some of the cost, some of materials, some of the items we're looking for. And I'm going to send it out to you well before everyone, so you can kind of look at some of my ideas and add to them, please.
yeah. I think we should put that flooring down first.
Mhm.
I
Since that's
agree.
gonna be the most expensive item.
I agree. I definitely agree. Thank you, Karen. We're doing a Stone Meadow presentation on Wednesday, September 3rd at 6:30. I know, Karen, you've talked to the powers that be over there
Mhm.
at Stone Meadow. We're looking at a 10 to 15-minute presentation, similar to what we did at Bridgewater Housing.
Yeah,
Lorraine's going to speak to the mission statement of our Disability Commission. I'll discuss the highlights of our accomplishments over the last few years. There'll be time at the end of our presentation for questions and answers. I guess Stone Meadow provides snacks, Karen said?
Yeah, they usually have the regular meeting, so I thought we would do maybe do a prizes or something, just so they're listening to us.
Yeah. I think we can talk more about it as we get closer.
Yeah.
Is there anything you need to add to this, Karen?
No, they just asked me, specifically to let them know what you're gonna talk about, so I will just write up something real quick and, yeah, and basically it's the mission statement and what we've accomplished or what you've accomplished in the last year or two,
Okay,
and what we projects that we plan to work on,
yeah,
and then,
Yep.
yeah. Okay,
that sounds good. Yeah,
that sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. Other than that, if you have any before our next meeting or well in advance, if you have any ideas for future speakers for our meetings. I was thinking of maybe Courtney, new director of the senior center, to speak with us.
Yeah.
As a new town manager comes on board and gets comfortable in position, maybe we could have them speak with us. So they
Yes.
can-
Would it be okay if I jumped in real quick?
Please.
Yep. So, we're in the process of the transition plan, the ADA transition plan that we had,
Oh,
funded.
yes, yeah.
So we actually met with, the company today, and, they're well along the way of, getting all the locations, scoped out and, putting that all together. They actually wanted to come to the next, Disability Commission meeting to speak with you on it and present.
Oh, great.
So
Yeah.
I was like, you're welcome to come in 15 minutes or in July. So he opted for
Mhm.
July. So he's just going to get everything together, and I think it'd probably be like a half-hour presentation.
Okay. And you said this is the ADA?
This is the ADA transition plan that we had funded
Mhm.
for $50,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you remember last year, we had applied for a grant to do it.
Yes.
Oh.
So unfortunately, we got denied for that, but this will, once we complete this, it'll actually allow us to reapply for grants through the state ADA.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. That's good to know. And we'll add that to our next meeting. Let's see. I think that's kind of a lot for one meeting.
Mhm.
Thank everyone for your time, your interest. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up and discuss before we come to the end?
No, I know, I had mentioned to you, I will not be able to attend the August meeting, just to let you know in advance. on that.
Okay,
Okay,
okay. Thank
And
you.
David,
Yes,
it's me.
I
I'm
see it.
trying, I finally found the perfect person for us to speak with about the hearing disabilities.
Okay.
But, yeah, but he wants to do a 90-minute presentation,
oh, boy.
and he prefers to do it in person. So
Yeah.
I was thinking that I talked to Courtney very briefly before she went on her vacation, that
Yeah,
it might be perfect if we combined your other hat, put the two commissions together, and maybe we could do it at the senior center
Oh, yeah, yeah,
in the fall.
yeah.
no, I think that's a good idea, but
Mhm.
does it still have to be
90
90-minute
minutes.
presentation? Because if you
He said
add
it
in
takes him
the
90
regular
minutes.
meeting,
No, it would have to be a different, we would have to take another program,
okay,
commissions together, but not during our regular meeting.
right,
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
No, I
You'd have
do,
to-
I do.
Yeah, so maybe like a Friday morning that the dressmakers aren't meeting or something, that we could
I
come
think
up with
that's
a
a
time
great idea.
that
And,
works.
and
He's wonderful. We've been having some great conversations. He has double cochlear implants. He said he can come in and do a great presentation, but it takes him 90 minutes to do it.
okay. And I think your idea of tying it into the senior center is great. We'll get a lot of people from the senior center that will find it of interest and importance. So that's great, Estelle. Thank you.
David, couldn't we do that in lieu of a meeting? I mean, it's a program, it's an event. Couldn't we do it in lieu of one of our meetings?
We
whenever?
could. We
Instead
could
of the
definitely.
August
know?
meeting.
Yes,
Yeah, instead
You
of,
know?
instead of the two
End of
commissions
August.
meeting on their regular
Right.
meeting days, maybe just put them, just say we're skipping it that month or something.
No, that would
Right.
be,
Yeah,
that would
we
be
could-
fine.
yeah.
But I
I
have
think
to
that-
wait for Courtney to get back from her vacation to even
Okay. No, that's a
talk to
great
her about it.
idea.
So we're on the
Yes.
docket for next week to talk about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
The date of our next meeting is July 29th,
Mhm.
2 p.m., also on Zoom.
Yeah.
And that's what I have. I thought today was a really good meeting. I thank everyone for
Yes.
getting speakers and involvement. I think it was an
Mhm.
excellent meeting. And that's what I have. Do I have anyone that wants to motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yes, I will put in a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I'll
Thank you,
second it.
Gloria.
You're welcome. Great meeting.
Okay.
yes.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
I'm
Thank
sure I'll
you.
see everyone well before the next meeting. Everyone take care. And as usual, Josh, thanks for your help.
Yep,
course.
thank you.
Yep, thank
Josh.
you, Josh.
Have a good afternoon.
All right,
Yep,
bye-bye.
take care.
Have a
Bye,
good day.
everybody.
Stay cool.